you're going to be reinventing your life, then you need some real life examples. I have 3 people who are famous and 3 people who are not so famous to help us navigate the world of reinventing. How's it going, Reinventers? My name is Amelia Sims. This is Reinventing You, the channel where you can be inspired to take your own reinventing journey and live a life of joy, fulfillment, and purpose. I want to inspire you twice a week with these videos, and if you have not subscribed, please do so today. Just scroll down and click on the subscribe button. I remember when I first started vlogging, it's been almost 2 years now, and I did a series of videos about famous people. Did they reinvent themselves or not? And in that process, I kind of explained a little bit about each person's reinventing history and why I thought they may not have reinvented themselves. And I really wanted a response from you guys to let me know. I know that one person said, hey, what about like real life people, not just famous people who have reinvented themselves? So I decided to break down. I've got 3 folks that I have mentioned before and 3 people that I actually found videos about on MailChimp, which is a service that I use to send you out information, to collect email addresses and that kind of thing. And I've been very pleased with their service, but this is a video that they put out and was about these 3 people. But I did more investigation and on my own about these folks and tried to get some information for you guys. What you'll find in all 6 of these people is that they changed their lives in some way. 4 of them have definitely were midlife changes. So I hope they will be inspiring for you. If you like this video, please don't forget, give me a thumbs up. Now, I think all of these people that I'm going to mention in this video have something to teach us about reinventing. They've got life lessons or particular lessons that you and I can follow. I have to say that the first 3 are ones I have already mentioned in other videos, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on them. So just note that I have links both up here in the cards and also below in the descriptions. The first one that I have to mention is Susan Boyle. I don't know if you remember her. This has been several years ago when she came on Britain's Got Talent, I think it was called, and she came on and she blew Simon out of the water. I just remember watching it. Anytime I've watched, I don't know how many times I've watched the video. I do have a link below for that, but if you watch the video, it always brings me to tears. Just the way the audience really accepts her and realizes, despite her looks and her, the way she carries herself, that she is incredibly talented. And of course, she went on to be famous. I think the most intriguing part about her story was that it was later learned that she had some type of high-level functioning autism, and she didn't have any kind of job until she won Britain's Got Talent and was discovered there. So it just goes to show you, even if you have some kind of physical or mental disability, so-called disability, that you can overcome it and still reinvent yourself. So I have 2 things to say at this point. The first one is that the next 2 people that I'm going to talk about, both Lois House and Stephanie Land, are not in their midlife. They are younger people. However, I think it just goes to prove that you can have a midlife crisis, or so-called midlife crisis, at any age, and you can recover and do something about it. So I think they're great examples for anyone who's considering to reinvent themselves. Another thing that I have to say is that it is a gray and blustery day. It's the middle of winter. I need some chai. Alexa, set a timer for 3 minutes. Get down, off the table, now. That's much better. Did you know that the word chai means tea? So please, whatever you do, don't say chai tea, because you're just saying tea. Cheers. The next person that I want to talk about is Lois House. Now, Lois was one of these younger people. He had the dream of being an athlete and became injured and just really destroyed his dream. After spending some time on his sister's couch and kind of
kind of being in a depressive state, he decided to start making some connections on LinkedIn. And then once he did that, he started making these live venues, I guess you call live venues, where people who on LinkedIn could come and meet one another and really spread their own talents and messages to one another in a personal way, not just online. That started a business, and then later he sold the business, and now he does podcasts and writes. He has overcome, he took the dream that he had and he created a new one. And even though he was young at the time, I think it just teaches us that we can create new dreams no matter how old we are. The next one is Stephanie Land, also a young woman. She went from being a maid to being an author. She went from being somebody who was dependent on welfare to being independent. And she has a great story. You can read her book. I have links above here in the card of my previous video, and also another recent interview that she did. It is lengthy, but it's very good. So if you want to check out Stephanie Land. And I think what I liked about her story is she did not let her economic situation keep her down. She was willing to keep on and trying and get education and experience, even while raising a family, and yet she overcame that and turned her life around. You too can overcome economic challenges. The next one I have is a man named Alex Reza. Now, Alex had been a postal worker for 23 years. He had a daughter who wanted to learn how to play the violin, so he got her like a real cheap one. Then later on bought a nicer one, but he kind of became intrigued. He'd always loved classical music, and he became intrigued by the violin. Working for the post office really kind of wore his body down. It was a lot of constant physical movement that was very repetitive, and he just felt like he needed an artistic outlet and decided to take up violin making of all things. He did apprentice with somebody, but basically was self-taught. He decided eventually to enter a contest. It was the very first one he entered, and he won first prize. And that simply started his passion and kicked off a business. They eventually moved and now own a violin shop. And he makes violins, violas, and also cellos. And what Alex really enjoys is seeing others find joy in his craft. His passion encourages passion in others. In fact, in some of the videos I've watched of him watching others play the violins, you can see he has joy, they have joy. So it's simply a wonderful way to think about reinventing yourself, to find your passion that inspires passion in other people. The next person that I have to show us some keys to reinventing ourselves is Abigail Carroll. Now, Abigail is known as the Oyster Lady, which is kind of really interesting. She was somebody who was, when she was growing up, she wanted to learn languages. She wanted to live in Europe. She wanted to do really well with her life. And so she did. She went to school. She, I think, got a business degree, but also studied French, moved to France, and was in a company where she was doing finance. She was making tons of money. She was even like dating, I think it was a duke, French duke. Was it used those social? Anyway, somebody that, you know, was very well off and everything. And she did not feel fulfilled. I mean, she was thinking, is this all there is? You know, I'm doing all this finance stuff, but I don't feel like it's running very deep. I don't feel like I'm really doing anything for the world. It's just this shallow business that I'm in. And she basically quit her job, left France, and came home. She had a friend of a friend who wanted to start an oyster farm, which I didn't know what you called them, oyster farms. She worked with them and helped write a business plan for them. Now, she really was doing it, I think, for free. You know, she was just kind of helping them out. Well, this friend of a friend eventually bailed on the project, and she became so interested in everything, she decided to go ahead and purchase the farm and start oyster farming. One of the things she talks about is getting your hands dirty. She said that you have got to just basically get your hands dirty in order to find some kind of connection. And because she's getting her hands dirty, she's in the muck, she's in the water, she's very aware of the tides and the weather patterns and climate change, she feels like for the first time in her life that she's doing meaningful work. She also talks about, especially in the video that I have links for, is that you have to be free to fail. You have to say, okay, I could fail at this, but I'm willing to make the effort. I'm willing to give it my all. And she says in the process that it is super liberating. From Abigail Carroll, we can learn these lessons. Be free to fail, get your hands dirty, take action, and find your purpose. The next reinventor that I have on my list is Marielle de Jesus. She also has my favorite quote of all three of these. I just had to write this down because I thought it was so significant. She says, "The limits in our lives are set by no one else but ourselves. Start with yourself. Ignore those voices outside of you. Cultivate your voice and amplify it yourself so you no longer hear the preaching of others but your own." Now, Marielle was a child of immigrants. In fact, she may actually have been an immigrant herself. I'm not really sure about that part, but she was a child of immigrants. She always had the pressure, especially from her mother, to do really well financially, to be well educated, to learn English. And so she went and became a lawyer. She went to college, she went to law school, she became a lawyer. She was in DC. She was doing extremely well. But she felt like everything that she did was scripted. There was no creativity. There was no individualism. There was no, showing who you are. She became very disillusioned and decided she needed to do something. She had lost her sense of self and really wanted to reclaim that. So what she did was she took a leave of absence from her job and she went hiking, and she just found this connection with the earth and with herself that really she needed. When she came back from the trip, her mother died, and that set a chain of events that changed her life. She had, of course, already been hiking. She already realized there was something missing in her life, but it just took that loss of her mother and the realization that she basically was living her life for somebody else, not for herself. She quit her job and moved to Peru. Seriously though, she started two businesses. One of them is called Peak Explorations. Is that right? Yeah. Peak Explorations. And she also founded a business, I guess it's a foundation, called Brown Girl Trekker. I just realized my light is in there. Sorry about that. I know you wanted to see the light. Wait, I gotta get this light out here. Okay, sorry about the light. And I just realized I was sitting there, I was going, what is that bright thing in the corner? Anyway, she started this trekking company where women can come in Peru. They would go on an expedition. They would hike. They'd spend time in nature. They would have guides who were also local women. So they not only got a feel of the country, but also the people. And it was a more kind of a comfortable feeling. Rather than having a male guide, they had a female guide. And so she started this company, and one of the things that she realized was that it took a lot of opinions to create who she was, outside opinions, but it was when she looked inside herself that she found her fulfillment and her purpose. The lesson that we can learn from Marielle is to live an authentic life and find fulfillment. So what did you learn from these reinventors? If you let me know in the comments below something that really struck you with one of these folks, whether they were famous or not so famous. I also hope you check out some of the links that I provided both in the cards and of course at the end screen and in the description below. I would love to send you a monthly newsletter just for reinventors like yourself. So if you follow the link in the description below and in my comment, you will see where you can go and send me your email address. I promise I won't spam you. I want you to live a life of joy, fulfillment, and purpose. If you haven't subscribed, go below, click on that red button that says subscribe. Check out these videos here on the screen and in the descriptions. Have a great one.